is Kelsey, and I'll be teaching you the equipment and processes necessary to make a perfect cup of coffee. The espresso machine is used to pull espresso shots, which are the main ingredient in most coffee-based drinks. It works by heating up water and forcing the water through coffee grounds at a really high pressure. This makes a really high concentration of caffeine, which can be used in almost any drink. This is the espresso grinder. We store the coffee beans in this hopper here, and the grounds are dispensed down here. We grind the coffee fresh for every drink for a better quality and taste. This is a portafilter. It's a handled object that we use to hold the ground espresso beans and then lock into the espresso machine. We've got 3 different sizes. So the double shot has 2 spouts, and the single shot and triple shot have 1 spout each. The single's a little bit smaller than the triple. This is the tamper, which we use to create a puck. The espresso grounds go in here, and you apply pressure here. The pressure is essential to creating a good espresso shot. The steaming pitchers are used to steam milk for drinks. We've got 3 sizes. The largest is used to steam milk for 20-ounce drinks, and the middle size is used for most other drinks, including lattes and cappuccinos. The steaming wand expels steam to heat up, froth, and foam the milk. The amount of steaming and foam depends on the type of drink you're making. We use the thermometer when steaming milk to make sure it reaches the appropriate temperature. So for normal drinks, we steam to 140 Fahrenheit, and for extra hot, we go to 175 Fahrenheit. These syrups and sauces are used to flavor our mochas and lattes and blended drinks. We also use them as the basis for our monthly specialty drinks. Spoons are used very often, so we keep them in an ice bath in a jug, or else rinse them in between uses. The ice bath must be kept at 40 degrees or below so as not to spread bacteria. And finally, this is an espresso shot. An espresso shot should have 3 layers with a nice layer of crema at the top. The crema lets you know that you've done the process correctly. Now let's get to it.
Now we'll go through the 12-step process of pulling a good shot of espresso. First, remove the portafilter and flush the group head. And once you remove the filter from the group head, it's going to be wet and probably covered in espresso, so we're going to wipe it off to make sure it's clean and dry before we start pulling our shot. Next, we're going to fill the portafilter basket with coffee grounds. I'm going to pull the tab repeatedly until I have a little mound so it's overfilled. And I'm going to bring it over to the knock box and brush the excess into the knock box and not back into the grinder. Make sure that you ask your manager about the specific way to do this at your store because they are all different. The next thing we're going to do is tamp down our espresso grounds. I'm going to hook the portafilter onto the counter and put the tamper straight down into it. Make sure you keep your arm at a 90-degree angle and push straight down with a moderate amount of force. And then when you're done, you don't need to do any fancy polish, what they would call this twist, or a clink. A lot of people will teach you to hit the side of the filter, and that's just not necessary. You push in, you can twist a little, but pull straight back out. Then I'm going to brush the loose grounds back into the knock box. Next, we place the portafilter directly into the group head, and we can start to brew our shot. The shot should take about 20 or 30 seconds to brew. Once the shot's been brewed, it needs to be served within 30 seconds or it starts to expire. Next, I'm going to unlock the portafilter from the group head, and I'm going to knock the puck that's in there back into the knock box. And then use the group head to rinse all of the extra grounds out of the bottom of the basket. Once it's clean, we lock the portafilter right back into the group head where it started. And finally, after the shot's brewed, make sure that the rest of the area is cleaned before you make your next shot. Here are the 12 steps one more time. it correctly, your shot will look like this. It should have a dark layer on the bottom, and a middle layer, and then a lighter layer on top, the crema. Now we'll go through some examples of shots that were made incorrectly. The first place you need to be careful is when pulling grounds into the portafilter from the grinder. If it's dosed improperly and there aren't enough grounds, there will be too much water in the shot. Tamping the shot properly is important to ensure that the water flows through the grounds correctly. If you don't tamp hard enough, there will be too much water in the shot. Notice while I'm brewing that it's coming out way too fast and it's very watery. If the shot's tamped too hard, the water will flow through it too slowly and the resulting shot will taste bitter. Another place to be careful is when you're locking the portafilter into the group head. If you lock it too lightly, then the water's going to come out of the edges up here instead of through the filter and through the coffee. The last incorrect example of a bad shot is one that's been sitting on the counter longer than 30 seconds. Once it's expired, it will have started to separate into 2 layers instead of 3. Now that you've learned how to make a correct espresso shot, it's time to learn about the second most important ingredient in most coffee drinks.
Steaming is used to heat up, froth, and foam the milk before adding it to the espresso shot. Here are the 10 steps to correctly steam. First, purge the steam wand. Next, use a clean pitcher. It's best if it's cold. Pour the milk into the pitcher. And return the milk to the cooler after you're done. Submerge the tip of the wand into the milk. When you start steaming, make sure the wand is fully submerged. Move towards the surface until it stops making noise. Froth the milk by steaming close to the surface. Leave the wand directly at the top so it can pull in the surrounding air to create foam. Use smooth motions, avoid any jumping movements, and create a whirlpool within the milk. Once the appropriate amount of foam has been created, dip the wand just below the surface to start heating the milk. The wand will begin pulling milk instead of air and circulating the foam towards the bottom. Continue heating the milk until it is 140 degrees. Turn off the steam. The milk will continue heating to about 150 to 165 degrees before it settles. Purge the wand and wipe it clean with a wet towel. Make sure to clean the wand after every use so that the leftover milk doesn't harden and collect. If you did everything correctly, there won't be any large bubbles. If there are large bubbles, you can knock them out on the counter. Rinse out the pitcher with cold water in the sink. Or with the pitcher rinser. Here are those 10 steps one more time.
Now that we have the basics down for pulling a shot and steaming milk, we'll go over differences between a few of the drinks. The two most common coffee-based drinks are cappuccinos and lattes. These two drinks are made with the same espresso and milk base, but with a few small differences. A cappuccino contains more foam, about 2/3 of the milk, while lattes only contain about 1/2 inch of foam at the top. Lattes also contain different syrups, which are mixed in with the milk and espresso shot. Cappuccinos typically don't contain syrup, as you don't want to mix out the foam. When making a latte, the espresso should be pulled into the syrup so that it doesn't expire. Then stir the syrup and espresso shot while pouring in the milk so that it's evenly mixed.
An Americano does not contain milk, but is espresso with hot water. First, you add the hot water. Then, pull the espresso shot over the water. It is still necessary to make sure there is crema on top.
An iced latte is made similarly to a regular latte, only with cold milk and ice. First, pour the espresso into the milk so it's tempered. Then pour in the ice so it doesn't melt. Next, stir and serve.
Specialty drinks are made exactly like a latte, except with additions and syrups. For example, a mocha has chocolate syrup and whipped cream on top. Another example would be a white chocolate raspberry swirl, which has white chocolate syrup and raspberry syrup and whipped cream on top.
The process for blended drinks starts by filling a cup with ice. Next, pour in the blended beverage base until it just covers the ice. Next, add the syrups that you need for the drink. Next, add the espresso shot and then blend.
Last but not least, there's latte art. It is not mandatory, but it is a fun way to show your skills as a barista. Here are some signatures from our own Union Cafe baristas.
You are now on your way to becoming a University Union Cafe barista. If you have any further questions, see your unit manager or qualified barista trainer.